Insights for the Informed Investor.
Welcome to our channel, where we explore the stories of some of the most fascinating people in history and their impact on society, economics, and business. Today, we're diving into the life of Henry Ford, a man known for his incredible innovations in the car industry and for changing how cars were made. We'll look at his childhood, his education, and how he built one of the biggest car companies in the world. Stay with us to discover the inspiring story of Henry Ford. Chapter 1. Early life and upbringing. Henry Ford was born on July 30th, 1863, on a farm in Greenfield Township, Michigan. His parents, William and Mary Ford, were immigrants from Ireland who worked hard to provide for their family. From an early age, Henry showed a strong interest in machines. He wasn't interested in becoming a farmer like his father. Instead, he loved figuring out how things worked and fixing them. Henry got his first exposure to machines on the family farm, where he worked with basic tools and equipment. Even as a young boy, he was always taking things apart and putting them back together, earning himself the nickname of a tinkerer. These early experiences helped spark his passion for machines, which would eventually lead him into the automotive industry. Chapter 2. Education and early career. Ford's formal education was limited. He went to a small one-room schoolhouse. Traditional subjects didn't interest him as much as working with his hands and learning about machines. At age 16, Ford left home and moved to Detroit to become an apprentice machinist. He spent several years learning about engineering and how machines worked, which gave him the skills he needed to start his career. After a while, Henry returned to his family's farm, but his love for machines never went away. He spent his free time fixing farm equipment and even built a small steam engine. In 1888, he married Clara Bryant and soon started working at the Edison Illuminating Company in Detroit. He eventually became chief engineer there, and his work at Edison gave him valuable experience and inspired him to start building a horseless carriage. Chapter 3. The birth of the automobile empire. Henry Ford's dream was to create a vehicle that would give people more freedom to move around. In 1896, he built his first gasoline-powered vehicle, the quadricycle. It was a simple four-wheeled vehicle powered by an engine, but it was an important step towards his goal of making cars for everyone. The quadricycle had only 2 forward gears and no reverse, but it showed Ford's determination and creativity. Ford believed the cars shouldn't just be for the rich. He wanted everyone to be able to afford one. This idea motivated him to keep improving his designs and find ways to make cars less expensive. In 1903, he founded the Ford Motor Company, with the goal of creating an affordable, reliable car for ordinary people. After a few early attempts, he succeeded in 1908 with the Model T, which changed everything. The Model T was inexpensive, strong, and easy to maintain. It was especially popular with rural families who needed a dependable way to travel. Ford also worked hard to make car manufacturing more efficient. He standardized parts and used interchangeable components so that cars could be built faster and cheaper. This approach allowed Ford to produce cars at a rate and cost that no one else could match. His focus on making cars accessible to everyone made him a true innovator in the car industry. Chapter 4. The assembly line and industrial revolution. One of Ford's greatest contributions was the moving assembly line, which he introduced in 1913. Ford knew that to make cars affordable, he had to lower production costs. He got the idea for the assembly line from other industries, like meatpacking plants and flour mills. He set up a moving assembly line in his factory, where each worker did one specific job. The cars moved down the line, and each worker added a part until the car was complete. This new way of making cars cut production time from 12 hours to just 90 minutes, which made cars much cheaper to produce. By simplifying tasks and using standardized parts, Ford reduced waste and made it easier to train workers. The assembly line also allowed Ford to hire more workers, even if they didn't have specialized skills, because the jobs were easier to learn. Ford's assembly line didn't just change the car industry, it changed how factories worked all over the world. Many other industries, like electronics and household appliances, began using Ford's methods to produce their products. The idea of mass production made goods cheaper and more accessible, which had a big impact on people's lives. The introduction of the assembly line was a key moment in the Industrial Revolution and is considered one of Ford's greatest achievements. Chapter 5. A Visionary Employer, the $5 Workday. Henry Ford didn't just change how cars were made, he also changed how workers were treated. In 1914, Ford introduced the $5 workday, which was nearly twice what most factory workers were earning at the time. He believed that if his workers were paid well, they would work harder and stay with the company longer. He also knew that if his workers earned more money, they could afford to buy the cars they were building. This decision was groundbreaking because it showed that treating workers fairly could lead to better results for the company. The higher wages allowed Ford's workers to have a better quality of life, and it helped create a consumer-driven economy where more people could afford to buy goods. Even though some people thought the $5 workday was too much, it ended up being a very successful idea that other companies soon copied. Ford's belief in fair wages became an important part of his legacy. Chapter 6. Controversies and Criticism. Despite all his successes, Henry Ford was not without controversy. He held some anti-Semitic beliefs, which he published in his newspaper, the Dearborn Independent. These views damaged his reputation, and people still debate his legacy because of them. Ford's involvement in political and social issues brought him criticism, and his reputation has always been complicated because of these controversies. Chapter 7. Legacy and Impact on Society. Henry Ford's contributions to society were huge. He changed the car industry, introduced new ways of manufacturing, and helped shape the modern economy by promoting higher wages. His vision of making cars affordable for everyone helped millions of people experience the freedom of having their own transportation. Ford's work made cars a necessity, not just a luxury, and his drive for efficiency changed the way products were made forever. The assembly line Ford introduced was one of the most important innovations in manufacturing history. It didn't just make cars cheaper, it also changed how people worked. By having workers focus on one specific task, Ford was able to increase productivity and reduce costs. This idea of specialization was used in many other industries, making consumer goods more affordable for everyone. Ford's influence didn't stop with cars. His ideas inspired other industries, including electronics, household goods, and even farming. His methods helped make the United States an industrial leader and showed that mass production could lead to mass consumption, driving economic growth. Ford also made a big impact on workers' rights. By paying his workers higher wages, he helped create a new class of consumers who could afford the products they were making. This helped grow the middle class and contributed to the modern consumer economy. Ford's approach to worker welfare became a model for other companies and set the stage for better labor practices in the future. Ford's legacy includes his philanthropy as well. He and his son Edsel started the Ford Foundation, which has become one of the largest charitable organizations in the world. The foundation supports education, social justice, and human welfare, continuing Ford's commitment to improving society beyond just making cars. Cartesian. Chapter 8. What happened to his wealth? Henry Ford made a lot of money during his lifetime, and much of it was used for charity. In 1936, Ford and his son Edsel started the Ford Foundation, which has grown into one of the biggest charitable organizations in the world. The foundation has funded many causes like education and social justice, and it still helps people today. After Henry Ford died in 1947, his grandson, Henry Ford II, took over the company. The Ford Motor Company continued to grow and change over the years, becoming one of the most well-known car brands in the world. Ford's legacy lives on through the company, his innovations, and the charitable work he supported. Chapter 9. Death and Modern Perception. Henry Ford passed away on April 7, 1947, at the age of 83, at his estate in Dearborn, Michigan. Today, he is remembered as one of the greatest inventors and industrialists of the 20th century. His work in the car industry and his contributions to manufacturing changed the world in lasting ways. However, Ford's legacy is also complex. His controversial beliefs and actions remind us that historical figures can be both brilliant and flawed. Despite the criticisms, Ford's influence on mass production and making cars affordable is still widely celebrated. Chapter 10. Conclusion. Henry Ford's story is one of determination, vision, and transformation. From his humble beginnings on a farm in Michigan to becoming the founder of one of the most successful car companies in the world, Ford's life shows the power of innovation and hard work. He changed how cars were made, transformed the nature of work, and helped create the modern consumer economy. His legacy continues to inspire business leaders and inventors around the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Henry Ford. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about other important figures in finance, economics, and industry, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd like us to cover next. Until next time, keep exploring the world of finance and innovation.